In honor of Youth Month, the Young African Entrepreneurs Institute is set to launch the annual Youth Entrepreneurship Tour and host the Emerging30 Innovators Summit. Now, the goal of the Youth Entrepreneurship Tour is to identify and develop impactful young entrepreneurs and promote innovation throughout South Africa. Young African Entrepreneurs Institute plans to enroll 300 entrepreneurs into their skills program, facilitated by the Entrepreneurship Skills and Research Center. To talk to us more on this, I'm joined by Chief Entrepreneurship Officer at the Young African Entrepreneurs Institute, Risuna. Maluleke. It's great to have you on the program, Mr. Maluleke.
Good morning, Kolisi and the viewers at home, and thank you for having us today.
Okay, so just tell us what the Institute does to ensure that it propels young people, particularly in the space that can be daunting at times, the space of entrepreneurship.
Yes, so the Young African Entrepreneurs Institute is basically a youth entrepreneurship and enterprise development institution. We focus on a cycle in terms of development. So we have different activities as far as supporting these young people is concerned. So what we start with as far as our development is concerned, we look at the entrepreneurial intention, whereby we have activities that in actual fact propel young people to start dreaming and thinking about how can they actually go into entrepreneurship, driving in entrepreneurial mindset. And then the second element of the work that we get to do then is moving these young people from entrepreneurial intention, then now going into entrepreneurial activity. This is where now we're looking at new venture creation and supporting those that already have existing business to run those businesses, to start businesses as well as to grow their businesses. But there's the last part then that we look at, which is entrepreneurial impact. And the driving of impact for us is that as we add value into the economy or into society through entrepreneurship, how many jobs are we getting to create, and how many young people can in actual fact generate an income, because it does not have to end with just you starting a business, but it should be a business that is able to support your livelihood, and all those things. So that is basically what we get to do. So we have different programs starting from students, where we have a student entrepreneurship education and development program, which is SEED in short, where we look at driving entrepreneurial mindset from that end. And then the other programs that we then get to do is through the Youth Entrepreneurship Tour, where we get to travel across the country, identifying and developing, these entrepreneurial youth, as well as looking at innovative leaders, of our society who are going to drive measurable socio-economic impact in that regard. And then we also then get to have celebratory, activities such as the Youth Entrepreneurship Week, where we now look at the Global Entrepreneurship Week, participating in that. And so those are some of the things that we get to do. And also driving or harnessing innovation, from a South African context, which is more Afrocentric, and technology-driven through our Youth Innovation Challenge, as well as taking these young people from the Youth Innovation Challenge, about 30 of them then become part of the Emerging30 that you just spoke about, briefly. So that is basically what we do as the Young African Entrepreneurs Institute.
And that's really encouraging, I tell you, and you just woven in another important element into this conversation, and that is the element of incubation. They say the first couple of months can determine the success or a failure of a young person's business. Let's talk about this. Do we actually have enough incubators who are out there to ensure that they cushion these entrepreneurs against failure?
Yes. So I think for us to understand the role of an incubator, we first need to understand the context of South Africa. Because, you can have rapid incubators and innovation hubs and so on across the country, but are they going to serve the purpose that we're intending for them to serve? What does that mean? That means that in actual fact, in order for us to discuss whether we have enough incubation hubs, we also need to understand from the context of our country, it's the only kinds of businesses that we have, only innovation driven, and they need incubation centers and so on. Because think about my village, Kolis, where I come from, in Guyana. Majority of the work that the businesses are doing out there, it's more in the field. They are farming, they are in actual fact making bricks, brick making and all those kinds of things. And others are building and so on. So what kind of incubation structure then do you need for them? Or maybe we now need to start thinking about industrial parks, that then are going to drive industrialization, understanding the context of where we are at. Do we really need to have more incubation hubs? I think we need to start at assessing the impact of the current hubs and whether they are well structured in such a way that they can drive the impact that we intend for them. So it is important that we have incubation hubs, but I think we now need to start thinking about activating industrial parks as a country to ensure that those other young people that are in the outskirts of South Africa are able to be catered and supported in that regard.
So you'll be recruiting about 300 entrepreneurs, and that's a fairly large number. What are some of the requirements for them?
Yeah, so we're going to start, in actual fact, the numbers does not start at the 300 that we'll be recruiting, or rather placing into the program. The number starts with about 1,500 young people that will be interacting with across the country, looking at financial inclusion and, among other things. Then what we're then going to do is to take about 300 into a program, which is the Youth Entrepreneurship Skills Program, going to run for about 12 weeks. So how we're going to do that is to have virtual sessions, and the 300 then are going to go through that particular program, getting supported, and also looking at mentorship as one of the key elements, of that particular support program through the Youth Entrepreneurship Skills Program. So the requirements basically are, we are looking for people that have demonstrated entrepreneurial intent, and then there are going to be specific forms that they are going to fill. We are going to be testing, for different factors as far as a person is concerned on their intention, rather in going into entrepreneurship and starting their own businesses. And for those that already have businesses, what are the gaps? So we are not going to be too stringent in terms of a person must have gone to this and that, but we're going to look at how do we move young people from entrepreneurial intent into activity, and those that are in activity, how do we enhance their business acumen in that regard through this particular program. So we'll be communicating all the requirements through time.
Risuna, Maluleke, thank you so much for your time and having this conversation with us right here on the agenda. Much appreciated.
Thank you so much, Kolisi. People can check us out on our social medias, Young African Entrepreneurs Institute, and our website, www.yanpc.org.za. And we're looking forward to interacting with young people across the country. Thank you for having us.
Sure, thank you so much.